So let's talk about the products that Alldata launched last year, and then we'll work our way towards this year and where we are, and then next year, the coming years.
Sure. So about 3 or 4 years ago, we took an undertaking of really retooling and looking at our product portfolio. And in order to do that, you got to set a strategy. What are you trying to achieve when you design your products, and what do you want to accomplish, and ultimately with our customer in the center of that universe. So the first thing we did was we looked at kind of where the technical landscape is going, and there were 3 things we wanted to accomplish as far as our pillars for our products. One was we wanted to, as a shop being the center of the nucleus of this design, one was the ability to provide them more information. So not just information from the OEMs, but information from peer-to-peer, and information that we could provide by being able to analyze data as it comes through our processes. And as all of you as contributors contribute, we can aggregate that data and build a big data strategy. The second arm of it was connecting to the vehicle. One of the problems we saw initially, especially around when you talk about right to repair, the real problem wasn't the fact that we didn't have information. We had information. The problem was that the scan tool technology didn't match the way the OEM set their strategies. And so one of the things we wanted to be able to do is better connect to the vehicle. That allowed us to then serve up the information that we had from the OEMs on the diagnostic strategies, which would be more in line with what you're troubleshooting. So as you're looking at the scan tool, you're not looking at something different that's in the OEM procedure. And we're trying to make that connection. And the last piece is on customers. It was really around trying to figure out how do we move customers to you and put you in a place where you're their expert in automotive repair, not the dealerships. And forgive me if any of you are dealerships, but from the aftermarket standpoint, how do we make the aftermarket independent repair shop more competitive by making sure that we can streamline that process of influencing that customer all the way through the repair event. So we launched a series of products last year, and all of these are brand new. So the first one was Manage, which is focused on managing the business. It's also an extension of where we reach out to your customer through campaign management and other things we want to do. We want to reach out and make sure that you're able to drive that traffic into your shops, both new customers and existing customers. The second was Community, so it's an extension of the peer-to-peer relationship, the ability to answer questions when you get stuck. Bobby and I were talking about this morning. As a drivability technician, you're always going to be faced with one area where a car or something that you can't solve. And you're going to go home, you're going to take that thing home, you're going to dream about it, you're going to wake up the next morning and try to figure out, okay, what am I not getting? I've done everything that I know how to do, and I'm still not getting it. And now we have the technology where it allows you to post something real time and say, here's where I'm stuck, here's some information I can post up on this, can somebody help me with this? And for the most part, as drivability technicians, all you're looking for is a little bump. You're looking for a little lead that can give you a different way of doing it, and a different avenue to pursue, and you feel a lot better about the job. And then last is mobile, which is that combination of connecting the vehicle and using mainstream technologies, which are basically tablets that you already may own, an iPad or a Samsung device. And we've done, it's an application specifically designed for the tablet. There's a difference. You can either have a browser that's basically a website that you can use on the tablet, but this is specifically designed to leverage components within the tablet. So for instance, you can use the camera to read the VIN, scan the VIN, and connect to the vehicle that way. And so one of the extensions we did with mobile was also linking it up with a device that connects to the OBD2 port that does a Bluetooth signal that allows you to connect to that, start reading codes, reading freeze frame data, emission monitoring, all that type of stuff. And so now we've done that connection, and that's where we're starting to bridge all this stuff together. That was a long explanation.
Well, actually, that's just part of the story. What you mentioned freeze frame, you mentioned the data. What I've learned about the online in the community is that, let's say that you're looking at a particular vehicle, a particular problem, and of course you've got the VIN, you're already into that unit, that one unit, and you can bring that information to the Alldata community. So you can show someone, and this is the neatest part that I love about the community, is the fact that, and for those of us in this room that have been stuck, and everybody in the business is at one time or other, like you said, Jeff, we've been stuck. If we could just have that little nibble, that nudge, that just one other idea, and the way we do that, we do stand back. But that's a sleepless nights many times, because you rack your brain, and sometimes you get fixated on one particular direction. So by bringing that information online and posting that information online, someone else can look, sort of like a radiologist that reads. I mean, you know, you go to have an MRI or an X-ray, and someone has to read that. The person that takes it, of course, does the legwork, but they can't render an opinion. Well, in our business, we can get fellow colleagues to render their opinion and their suggestions. And therein lies, I believe, one of the success features of Alldata Online is the community, is the suggestion that someone else that sees that and says, I had one of those, here's what I suggest that you do. And then it goes a step further with verification, Jeff.
Right. So there's a couple things we added to it. One, when we first launched the community, we thought, how do we make sure that every question gets answered? We didn't want to have anybody post a question that didn't get a response. And so, number one, we established our own Tech Assist team, and the leader of that group, John Lee's right over there. These are guys that are former instructors, master technicians, and so what we did was we want them to monitor every question that comes on the site and provide an answer. Doesn't prohibit any of the other technicians in the network to contribute, but we wanted to make sure that you had something to go with. And so going back to the verification is that we can suggest things as part of the community, but ultimately it isn't a verified repair until one of you goes in and says, this is what fixed it. And then now that becomes a different set of, it becomes a different priority within the system, and says, so you could go into a given car, you might have four suggestions and one verified, and as a technician you can look at that and decide, no, that's not what I have, it's more maybe one of these other ones. And again, it's just a system that builds on itself, and in real time and constantly builds and gives you a different set of values based on how it's happening in the real world.
And another feature that I've gleaned from reviewing the system is that there's a list of fixes and a list of series of cars, years of cars. And there might be, for 2014 or 2013, there might be 43 either fixes or posts. And some of those are verified, some may not be. But as you look down through the years, you can search, and that searchability of that site makes it simple, because we can all throw ideas into a sack and shake it up, and then it would be like a drawing. I mean, you just pure luck. You can't run a business on luck. You have to have procedures and people and training, and that's what I see in the specificity of the Alldata community with regard to the searchability. And you can take that a step further, Jeff, with regard to VINs and years and specific posts that people may put online.
Right. So that was one of the enhancements we did from last year to this year, was improve our searchability. So there's two ways you can search the content. One is you can freeform it, just go right in and say, I've got this trouble code with this car, and it will start giving you results back, and you can sort through it. Or you can filter specifically based on a symptom and the vehicle and the trouble code. So what we wanted to do is, because it's really in essence a QA stack. It's not a rigid structure. We wanted the ability for the user to be able to search and say, for instance, if there's a problem, maybe it's not specifically, you didn't find it on that particular VIN, but maybe that VIN also applies to other platforms. So for instance, if you think about like GM that may have a Pontiac and a Chevrolet common platform, maybe something's posted on Chevy, you're looking at Pontiac, so you want to broaden your search. It allows you to kind of look at it from that standpoint. So it's about trying to take that data and deliver it as fast as we can to you, and sort it out a way that's logical.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about the mobile part. We've talked a lot about the community, which is one of my favorites, because I think the future lies in the collaboration between colleagues in this room that are here and that will hear about it. But let's talk about mobility and talk about how that same system is available for all the technicians. And if I have Jerry in Seattle that has a particular automobile, I can collaborate with him in real time.
Right. So I think, you know, part of what we're trying to do with the mobile platform is that because it's all cloud-based, every time a user goes in to use it, we're going to be able to see what's going on. Now, I know that frightens some people because you get into this whole security thing, but ultimately, to be more efficient and be more effective, we have to understand the power of that aggregated data. And so one of the things we can do is we can take data, we can look at what you're doing. That data, you can also take that data eventually and post it in the community via the mobile app. So you can actually put in the actual, what we would call diagnostic package. So you could actually put in the freeze frame data, any of the PID data you want to put in, and then that could go to the community, and the community can then look at that. It gives the other guy, the guy on the other end, a deeper sense of what's going on. And so as we continue to move down this path of this mobility and community, you can envision a point where we can actually drop somebody in right into the repair event. They can see exactly what's on your tablet. They can help diagnose and give advice based on the actual reading of the vehicle. So again, some of this stuff seems maybe a little far-fetched, but I have to tell you, the manufacturers are already doing this. BMW has spent a tremendous amount of money on making sure that basically their technicians can plug into a big mainframe. All the data gets sucked up and goes to a server. Somebody else goes back and pushes down what the repair is. And they've identified, or at least have a concern, that the weakest link in their repair cycle is the technician. And so being a technician, or being at least a former technician, to me that says, wait a minute, so how do we change that paradigm and say we need a technician, but we need to also give them the information and tools they need to be able to do the job. So, you know, when we look at how do we stay competitive in the aftermarket, these are the type of things we need to be looking at, is how do we make sure that we're able to do diagnostics, we're able to do remote diagnostics, how do we make sure that we're involved in telematics. You can obviously see that they can guide that repair based on that consumer connection they have using telematics. So again, as we get into the connecting to the vehicle, and you look at telematics as that part of it, it goes back to what I said is one of our third pillar, is connecting you to your customers. How are you going to compete when you're not present on that vehicle? That's from an Alldata perspective, that's our job, is to make sure your shops are represented on that vehicle, so that if the consumer needs a repair, maintenance has been triggered, some automatic event has happened, that information flows to our shop network.
And you mentioned technicians, and of course, obviously your roots and my roots are there, and still are. For me, the pecking order, of course, the dealers have the information, and they work on one car line. And we all, how many shop owners are in this room? That you know that the dealers work on one. If you had to work on just one car line, the game would be when the car drove in, you wouldn't need to open the hood because you could hear the noise. You say, I know what that is. I've got it on the shelf. And I have friends that are in the business. Steve Loudon's a good friend of mine with in a Bosch service center, and he works on 3 car lines. Well, that's a license to steal, because you've already been there, done that dozens of times. So you can have the parts on the shelf. Unfortunately, I live in a small community, and I can't work on Dr. Steve's car, which might be a BMW or a Mercedes, and not work on his daughter's car, which is a beater that he bought her to drive back and forth to college. So what do? Number one, you can't be all things to all people, but you certainly need some tool, some solution, and Alldata brings that solution. So I mentioned, how many dealers do we have in here? I see we have none, but let me say this about dealers. Dealers do their job. The same technicians that work for dealers come to work for us, and vice versa, because people do jump ship, and we all know that. But the bottom line is, where's the pecking order? From a consumer standpoint and from a marketing standpoint, and dealers have the budgets, it's dealers only. So where do we fall? We fall exactly how far we'll fall down. And with Alldata, I see that we don't have to fall very far at all. Why? Because we get the information through Alldata, which Alldata already has agreements and purchases data and information, which is key, from OEMs, right?
Right.
So we're just going to have the opportunity to have more of that information, and information is power, so we can provide the services that dealers are vying for and trying to sell with their cars and so much a month for maintenance, to $275 to $300, and you know the drill. But the bottom line is, what I see the opportunity for us to step up our game using a tool that not only exists today, but is in its genesis. It's a growth. And what I saw last year and what I'm hearing today brings me to this question. Well, how much success has Alldata had in the past 12 months?
Well, we've had very good success. We've seen a lot of acceptance to the products we have. We launched the community a year ago in October. We're closing in on 40,000 technicians have registered on the site. We continue to add data every day. We've actually extended some of our capability to include diagnostic bulletins that we're authoring ourselves. So we're basically taking the information that the community builds or provides us, and we're doing an integration with OEM data. We're also integrating YouTube videos, so we're starting to add more content to it, and we're focusing on high-profile drivability issues. You know, from a mobile standpoint, we extended the OBD capability. We made it. We have parity now on all of our platforms, so we have the same look and feel on the iPad as we do on the Android device, and we'll be launching a version on the Surface device as well. So we continue to move forward. Online, Manage Online, we've added catalogs, major catalogs. We've added more usability. So one of the things the reason we have this focus group, and John Peterson is the head of our UX team. He's over here, the one I threw the water at, I think. You know, one of the things that we think is a major differentiation for us is that we want to focus on the aesthetics of our products. So it's not only just the data we have behind it and the information we provide, but it's how you're able to interface with it as a human being, and how to make it easier for you to find what you're looking for. Because, you know, I look at a lot of, we look at a lot of technologies, and I look at a lot of OE sites and different stuff, scan tools, and it's all difficult. It's not intuitive. It's very, very, there's a long learning curve on figuring out what these are. So that creates a situation where you're less reluctant to move on to something else. And what we need to do is continue to make sure that we bring aesthetics to our products, so that when we ask you to upgrade from the shop management you're in, or change from the diagnostic tool, that we have a way for you to learn this quickly so you can adapt the technology and move on very quickly. Here's one thing I wanted to say about community that I wanted to make sure we didn't miss. One of the things we're looking at right now is a system that we call gamification. And what we want to do is reward our customers for participating and contributing to the community. And so we're going to be setting up some things where you earn miles, you earn points, and we actually incent you to participate in our community. So that's a completely different strategy than the rest of the market has. The rest of the market, you're paying to access data you may be providing them, and we see it differently in saying, look, we want you to participate, so how do we get, you know, this is all your time. You have to take the time to answer somebody else's question, and we think that's of value. So we want to make sure that we build a system that rewards you for that participation.
And the key word that you said, Jeff, and this is what really comes to home, I'm sure, to everyone in this room, the we part. Because when you're dealing with corporations that are very layered, very structured, and very management heavy, to say we is not a question at all. There's no we to it, there's no I to it, it's the way it's done. So you follow rules, regulations, and that's just the way it is. It's like dialing a TRW, not to pick on TRW, to try to call someone that you know there, and you're put on terminal hold. If you know your parties, and then it becomes a round robin. I know we've all had that happen. The way I see this is as the we can help build exactly the future that we expect, and we need to be professional and successful in our business, because we have a say. You know, and not only do we get points and other bling and other rewards for verifying and for posting and for the hard work that we do, but it's a we business, and there are darn few businesses, corporations, large corporations that have the we factor. And that we factor for me is a win-win situation, because I feel like that my opinion is not only valued, but provides a value to everyone else in the community. That makes sense?
Makes sense. You know, I attended a conference a couple of months back, and I did a presentation on telematics and where it's going. And the question that came up from and most of those were, it was in California, it was mainly all shop owners, and the question they had, so what do we do about it? And the question, and my answer to that was really about understanding how it matters to your business model and making sure that you adapt it into your workflow. And that if you don't buy from Alldata, you buy from somebody that's offering that technology, because that's how we're going to stay competitive. You know, you can't ignore where the technology trends are going. There's a very focused effort to get there. So again, just understand technology and support companies that are in our market that provide that technology, and incorporate it in what you do as a business.
One final thought, well, almost final thought. Trends of the industry. How does Alldata see the trend, and what do you see going forward for 2015, 16? And you mentioned telematics. There's no question. I mean, Formula One is the epitome of the use of telematics. But where do you see Alldata and Alldata as a tool and a solution for service shops across America? How does that trend, and how will that grow?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say it this way. You know, it's interesting that Alldata has been around since we started in 1986. We launched our first product in 1988. Some of you may have had the old Atari system that looked like a big gray tank.
I have one. I had one.
Printed out on a thermal printer. You know, basically we were in the hardware business. But what was interesting about our mission at that point is no different today. The technology just changed. Our mission was to figure out, how do we make our customers competitive with the manufacturers, dealerships, and how do we make sure that they're able to repair cars quickly and efficiently, and therefore driving profits. So when we look at everything we do, I talked a little bit about the three things we're focused on. So when we look at things that we need to focus on, telematics and vehicle connectivity are one of the three. Number two is tech efficiency. It's really about you know, if we're in a shrinking market of having available talent, then how do we make the talent we have better at what they do? And that's really what we got to focus on. So how do we drive more young people into this market, and how do we make sure they're trained, and how do we make sure they're equipped to deal with the technologies? And lastly is around the customer themselves, and how you can drive your revenue, because at the end of the day, at least what we start seeing is that there are less and less repairs because the cars are more sophisticated. So what's happening is that maybe there's less car volume, but you got to get more you got to drive that average ticket up. So you got to make sure that you're offsetting whatever the volume is by increasing the average ticket, and that is by capturing as much of that repair process that you can, and at the time that it's needed, and making sure that there's no gap between when they have the need for it and when you can do the repair. We are so, it's interesting, we're so disconnected from our customers at times that we leave them choice on how to do that. And that's why the telematics matters, and all the other things matter is that as soon as there's an event on that repair, we need to know about it, and then we can kick into gear and make sure that it gets in your bays. So those are really the drivers, you know, that I think we have to continue to focus on.
So to recap, there are three products. There's Manage Online, and I don't think we've touched much on that, but maybe we could do just a 30,000-foot view if you like, Jeff. There's Manage Online, there's Mobile, which is the connectivity within the shop and globally, for that matter. And then, of course, there's the community, which sort of speaks for itself. But those are the three products that, as I see, and from my business and my experience, and the questions that I've been asked and answered from my customers, you know, it's Alldata and it's repair solutions.
Right. I would say that the key piece to manage, going back to your question around it, is obviously it's cloud-based. It's everything. There's no application, but it's the foundation to go forward with connecting to your customers and connecting your business. So again, it's about eliminating gaps in your data and where they flow. So for instance, let me just give you a scenario that we envision through our set of technologies, and this is a basic vision we've been forecasting, is that a check engine light happens to one of your customers. That event immediately at that point, the consumer has no idea why that check engine light on. Now, what we have the capability, or should have the capability in the future, is as soon as that check engine light comes on, it's routed to you as a shop owner, and you see it. And you're able to take a look at it and say, well, you know what, it's not a big deal, or it is a big deal. You can then communicate back to that customer and say, Mr. Smith, I noticed you just had a trouble code come on. Here's what it is. You don't have to worry about it. I have an opening next Tuesday. If you want to bring it in, we can repair it. You have just closed any gap there is for that consumer to go anywhere, and not to mention the fact that who's going to be the trusted advisor? You become the hero in that repair process, and that becomes the single mission we have to get there. So once it's in the bay, not only do we know why it's there, but we have the opportunity, if it's Tuesday, let's say the check engine light came on Thursday, we can send that package to the shop as a bundle, and the technician can see it before it ever comes in. So now the technician can say, I've seen this before, I know what's wrong, and I'm pretty confident what it might be. Or they can go immediately to the community and do a search and see if it's there. And if it's not there, they can post and say, I got a car coming next Tuesday that has this failure, can someone help me out? So before it ever gets to the bay, you've got information flowing to the point of need in the repair event. And then the whole distribution chain happens, because once you know that, then you can start setting up your just-in-time parts distribution, and all these things start to trigger. So it's about managing the information in a more efficient way. And again, what I would say is from a competitive standpoint, this is where all the OEMs are. This is where the global direction is going, and it's our jobs to make sure that we're in that space.
And another point that I see that is also part of it now, Jeff, and you can clarify me on this, or is coming, is the fact that you have a cadre of shops over a period of time, where it's 3 months, 6 months, or whatever the time, and time flies. You will have certain individuals in locales, and when you have a customer of yours that maybe feels stranded in another city, you already know the Alldata shop that is online that you can send that person to. So not only have you helped someone on the road, which is really when you have to step up your game, because we have a lot of transit business, you have to do that, number one. Number two, you retain that customer, because when a customer has a problem, who does he or she think of first? They think of you as the Alldata. So it's not that it's endless, but I think that it is endless, because telematics is definitely here. It's a part of the trend of the future. And the building blocks of this business, as I understand from the past year, and I see the progress, is that it's a game, wide open game, with specific directions and highways that someone that's been there, done that, and his team, which is a team of professionals, we can help advise and move forward in a professional way that gives us control of our own shop and our own dollars and our own cash flow. And when they're not in our pocket, we can make sure they're directed to another pocket, and that pocket can be part of our community. It's a win-win situation. You can call it a family. It's a community, and it is.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that bothers me about when I look out in the current trends in the marketplace is that this desire or this drive to commoditize the service you guys provide. And what I mean by that is that you see, you're seeing sites pop up that are quoting for repair and expecting the shop to honor that quote without ever having looked at the vehicle. And that's when you start commoditizing something, meaning then it becomes price competitive. And to me, everyone in this room that runs a shop is providing a service, not a commodity. And that's where your profits lie. That's where everything, so again, you can be in the price business, and you can try to compete in that and try to get volume and participate and try to make a business out of that. But ultimately, you're providing a service, and that service is of value, and you got to make sure. And when I see that kind of, I get those kind of business models all the time. Is that, well, we're gonna control bays, we're gonna go and do this and that. And to me, it's the same thing as if you went into your doctor and said, I already know what's wrong, just give me this prescription. There's not a doctor on the planet would do that. Well, there may be some, but Elvis is dead, so that's as good as they get, folks. So again, it goes back to, you're a professional, you're providing a service, and that's what you need to base your business on, and that's what we need to be able in a position of making sure happen. So yeah, one big happy family.
Well, I think so. I think that it's obvious. How many in this room have actually been to the Alldata Online to look at the community? Anyone? That doesn't work for Alldata. It's a tremendously intuitive and easy, and I hesitate to use the word user-friendly because that's 2000, computer speak, but it is. It's user-friendly, and my goal, were I to help the direction, is if I could only make it as friendly as my Apple iPhone, then it's a hit without even going to the next step. So that would be my input. Make it as easy as an Apple phone, and it's a hit. It's a win-win situation.
That's what we're trying to do. I would believe that at this point, there's a lot of people that need to go take a break and then need another beer. So I think, yes.
Is it the break or the beer?
Yeah, well, either way.
Either way.
I appreciate everybody coming out. I know that you have lots of choices when you're in Vegas. So again, we appreciate you guys coming here. My team has worked very hard, so I want to thank them as well. So again, thank you very much, and above all, thank you for being customers.
Thank you, Jeff.